is Ruel's Running Podcast, a podcast about running, health, family, play, and an NSNG lifestyle. And now, here's your host, Ruel.
Excuse me as I rock on. That's Went Away by Dorothy Lane. Dorothy Lane out of Martinez, California. That's out of the Cut and Dry album. Check them out at dorothylanemusic.com. Yeah. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ruel's Running Podcast. I am your host, the host with the most, the host who knows how to roast. A rib roast. I don't often toast. But I can toast. I don't toast in honor of, but I do toast waffles for the kids. I will toast on a hot pan, maybe a grilled cheese sandwich for my kids. How's everybody doing? Hope you're doing well. Thanks for tuning in. I know you're wondering, gosh, this podcast is out of control. And I'm okay with that. So let's start off with that. What's cooking, y'all? Well, what's cooking is I've been doing a ton of baking. Ton of baking. There's a place called the Chocolate Dozen. The Chocolate Dozen is a online bake shop name that my wife uses to encompass all things that she does baking for friends, family, and customers of the bake shop. Pretty cool, huh? As I mentioned before, it has nothing to do with NSNG. It just happens to be something to do with family. And my role in it is, you might not know this about me, but I build websites and I do graphic design. And in general, I'm kind of IT, tech, software, blah, 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 blah. And artsy-fartsy, crafty, what rhymes with crafty? I don't know why nafty came up, but I don't even know if nafty is a word or if it's even offensive. But yeah, so long story short, over the years while the kids were growing up from preschool up, my wife has baked. She's baked for teachers, baked for the caregivers, the staff around these education institutions, and she bakes, for fun, and she gets a kick out of bringing smiles to people's faces because of her baked treats. She's creative in that way. She likes to design treats that, are attractive and enjoyable, and aesthetic, I guess. So years go by, and every now and then, people would wonder where they could order because they would like to get more, right? But at that point, she just gifts it to people, right? Holidays, teacher appreciation type stuff, Halloween, things of that nature. Birthdays. So then it becomes like, hey, what if we did this sort of on the side, kind of as a business, somehow made it possible for folks to order? And wouldn't that be neat? So sometime along the way, wow, the moon is gorgeous right now this evening. It's 10:23 in the evening. Come tomorrow, we're going to have to roll back an hour. So, yeah, anyways. Along the way, I kind of honed my skills, learning web design with more sort of the modern themes for websites and content management systems and whatnot. Learn it for my own personal sites. And, I was already doing graphic design type stuff, and one day we're at an outlet mall and start playing with the idea like, okay, if we built something, because I already got it down as far as how to build sites and stuff, and I wanted to be able to prove that I can also build a web store, with the right plugins and interfaces and integrations and whatnot. So, anyways, it was like, so if we were to set up a site, what do you want to call it? Because if we're going to set up a site, we got to know what to call it, because we got to know that the domain name is available. And once we figure that out, then I got to figure out what's it going to look like as far as a logo. So all of my, several of my skill sets were involved with getting all that figured out, set up. Collaborated with my wife with what she wanted to call it. Came up with a list of candidate names, locked down on something, figured it was available, secured it. We were just hanging out at the outlet mall one day and just using the phone, like, okay, we got the domain name. Let's now start designing a logo around that name, and I'll just start building the site. And then from there, it was like, okay, now you want to figure out what are your core products that you want to make available online, and we got to start figuring out how to describe them, how do you want to price them, and we're going to need product shots, and a ton of them. And we're already taking photos of things, and we had an idea, so just the parts started coming together, and the site got launched sort of in a really basic stage. Then I began the work with, okay, now let's go make it possible to order. And then when that happened, I know this is the long story short version, we made it possible, and we encouraged online ordering for local pickup and local delivery. And then quickly figured out how to ship, make it online ordering, ship to a particular address, and we figured out how to package and mail out. We reached out to like my sister in Washington State, a friend in Texas, and said, okay, we're going to give you guys a promo code, because we also figured out how to do like promo code type stuff. We're going to set up a promo code. We're going to give you the promo code so that you could look on the store, see what you want, and then we're going to cover the cost of the shipping. Just pick what you want. Actually, it might have been we're going to give you a credit for like a value, something like $40 or something. So in essence, they were getting something almost free, or pretty much free. And just so that we could test that, one, they can go on the site and actually place the order and enter the promo code. So we're testing the site's ability for the online order. We're testing the promo code system. And once that's proven, it would just be a matter of implementing, producing the product, packaging it, labeling it, sending it off, and waiting for them to receive it and get word that they received it and what the condition was of the product. And once we figured that out and it worked out, then we started like, okay, let's go start opening it up to more around the country. And, so that meant we were like, making sure that we had shipping boxes on stock, that we knew how to actually do the labeling and all this stuff. And honest to God, I can't remember why I'm even talking about this, long story short. But I've been doing a ton of baking lately. The holidays is like the peak season for this type of stuff. And it's fun. It's something that I get to do with my wife. We get to do together. We're on this journey together. I don't know, what can I say? That's it's just something that I've tapped into. And so if you don't know that about me, I am not just sort of technology and software inclined, but now, I've become a baker. I've become a dessert baker. And, my wife and I were just talking earlier this evening where, in terms of this bake shop, she's the primary person for XYZ, and then I'm the primary person for ABC. So we each have a distinct role in the kitchen as far as what's being produced. And as far as I'm concerned, as far as my duties, in addition to that, I'm working on the site and things of that nature and the graphics. And then for her, in addition to the kitchen duties, she's also doing a lot of the promotion and social media type stuff. So it's interesting. And I encourage anybody who has an idea or a dream to pursue something similar to just go out and do it. Figure out your name, figure out what you want to provide, how do you want to package it, and, put yourself out there and go with the flow.
Do you need a website? If you're an individual, a consultant, a group, or small business and need a site, or maybe you have an existing site, I can help. How about graphic design? Do you need a design for a t-shirt, logo, product, business cards? Maybe you need help with designing and developing a brand. I'm not an expert, but I do have the tools and the techniques to get the job done. How about a podcast? Yep, like this thing. This thing's a silly little show. Are you looking to set up a podcast of your own? Are you looking to reach an audience? Promote your business via podcast? Well, Abadam Studios. That's right, Abadam Studios. Yeah, so that's Abadam Studios. AbadamStudios.com, AbadamStudios.com. Check it out.
So here's my take. I'm struggling. Don't get me wrong. There are parts of how my life is right now where I'm pretty happy. Pretty happy with work, things I'm working on. Pretty happy that I'm doing things with my wife, and my kids are, they're growing and they're healthy and they're making a lot of advances in school and stuff. That kind of sounds dumb, right? My kids are doing making advances in school, but they are. My struggles are multi-layered, right? I'm not 100% open on the podcast because there's just some level of stuff that I'm just I'm not ready to talk about even on the podcast. But I'll open up a little bit. A little bit is I'm struggling, right? Lately I've been doing these late night, not late, but I've been doing these evening runs to the grocery store to pick up ingredients because, there's a level of baking that we have to do. We don't, I was going to say, we don't bake every night, which is great. But we do bake, time to time. And baking happens for two reasons. One, because we want to gift like we have done for the Halloween. For Halloween, we want to gift to teachers and educators and all that stuff. And two, we also bake because in order had come through the website, and we want to fulfill that order and, and basically make good on the order. So I'm out doing these runs every now and then. We're like, oh, we're out of powdered sugar, or we're out of condensed milk. Oh, we gotta get more. Like right now, gotta pick up some brown icing gel, right? But the struggle is this, right? I haven't been running. My last big run was in May. I had a few short runs, and I miss it. But I don't miss it enough that I'm actually making the effort to make those changes, which sucks. But I'm trying to build up somehow back to that. Put a goal out there, right? What could be something to work towards, something to run to? We're at the beginning of November. There's only so much left of the year. What do I want to accomplish before the year ends? I haven't thought about that. I haven't asked myself that question. So I struggle. The other struggle is, ever since the summer, I've struggled with that, the lack of running. I've also struggled with just trying to get myself into a groove in general, because I've had to give so much of myself through the past summer for the kids who, weren't entirely in summer programs. And it sounds so basic, like, okay, your kids aren't anywhere, so they're at home, and then you're just having to be at home. But as an individual, it takes its toll, because now it's one of those things where I'm at the mercy of life. I'm not in control. I have to be home, which is great, when you talk about it. It's great being home with your kid. It's great to be able to It's great to be working from home. But believe it or not, to be able to separate yourself from home because of work, there's also a blessing. There's also something good about it. Otherwise, I'm not resetting. There's something about, stepping away from the home and then coming back and then just missing it all because you were away, versus you're constantly there, which is great, but then you never sort of reset yourself to the point where you want to I really missed it, because you were just kind of swamped in it. That even makes any sense. Which is why I believe, stay-at-home parents, stay-at-home moms, they do the toughest job, because I had a taste of that, right? Having to be, and right now, summer's way past and gone, but at least 2 days out of the week, I have to be home because the kids aren't in after-school programs. The after-school care had changed their fee structure and just made it so expensive to actually be in all through the week. So fortunately, I'm in a situation where I can have that flexibility. I can just work from home, and I do. But I'm halfway from what the summer was doing to me, and I'm still not adjusted to a point where I'm back in the flow of things as far as, my running or whatever. So, I don't know. It's a struggle. It's a struggle, physically and mentally. Hey, I'm back. Oh, it's been pretty hectic. I've been wanting to work out, but I just have not been doing it. I've been intentionally not parking the van into the garage so that I can have the space to skip rope and hit the double-ended speed bag and whatever, do some body weight exercises in the garage. But never fail, something always takes my time, and it sucks, right? I'm on the computer dealing with stuff. I'm on the computer designing stuff. I'm in the kitchen cooking stuff. You know, it's one thing or another. And, you know, so when I get into a funk, I realize that my lack of exercise puts me in a funk. And over a period of, over a span of time, you know, I put myself in an unhealthy state that makes me feel extra funky. Right? It's all me. You know, and I was thinking about it today where I was in a pattern years ago where I would do a midday run. It was awesome. And I would do it fasted. Just seemed natural. And that was how I spent what the average person will call a lunch hour. And it worked for me. And I think, you know, that helped my mind, it helped my body, and all that good stuff. You know, I was in control in a way, seemed natural of my health. Now, fast forward a year or 2 or 3 later, I've not made the running part as much of a priority, right? Because of circumstance or by falling out of good, healthy habits. And when I'm not spending that midday period or that hour running, then I'm stuck thinking like, well, I can't just keep plugging. Well, I could, but there are days where I don't want to keep plugging through that period, and I just want to socialize, be with coworkers. That way, I'm not Mr. Antisocial. And then it becomes, well, I might as well grab something to eat, right? So I've replaced where I would have exercise. I've replaced it with eating. You know, and eating is fine, nothing wrong with eating, but then I fall into the habit of eating unhealthy stuff that's not good for me, and I make that a habit, and it just happens for a span of time enough to just do its damage. So now that I recognize that, I need to try to reset and get back into that pattern. And I know I will. I'm pretty sure I will. I'm not worried. If yo-yo dieting has taught me anything, is things come in cycles. Right? Things come in cycles, and where I was lean and mean once, and now kind of loose and flabby again, I will be lean and mean once again, and I will not be loose and flabby. How about that? It's like the seasons. It's the season of being chunky, and there's a season of being lean. That's where I'm at. Hey everybody. Speaking of food, a new restaurant opened around our neighborhood. They're called Burger Rim, and I think they originated from Southern Cal. I think that's what they're called, Burger Rim. When they were still sort of getting set up, and there was a sign out front, coming soon. Wasn't sure how to pronounce their name because the way their logo is designed, it literally says burger, and then in a different font type, it says I am. So, kept on calling it Burger I Am. Like, what kind of name is that? That's kind of a stupid name. What is it? Burger Instant Message? You know? Like AIM, like AOL's Instant Messenger. So it wasn't until I walked into the restaurant and when they finally were opened after a week, and asked them, how the hell do you pronounce your name? So they say it's Burger Rim, like, toilet rim. It's Burger Rim. Anyways, just visited them. It's my third time in their establishment. Small place. The first 2 times I ordered their, they call them bigger burgers, but they're really not anything special, to be honest. I don't know if it's chain-wide or if it's just this one location, but the burgers suck. I've ordered their beef burgers. They have a few variations, one's called the Spanish whatever, and one's called, I don't know. But what's interesting is they do beef patties. They want to call it whatever they want. One is called Angus beef. One's called dry aged. It's just a hamburger patty, come on. And then you're just putting a whole bunch of other junk on it to give it its own sort of name. So I've had I think the Spanish one and the dry aged one, and not impressed. I'm not impressed. It's like hyped up microwavable burgers. That's what I think. That's my opinion. It's like, reminiscent of Burger King Whoppers. Double Whopper, not even a double Whopper, just basic Whopper. But I would be wrong. Because my memory of what a Whopper tastes way better than this stuff. Like I said, this stuff's like microwavable burgers. I don't know. I'm not impressed. It's the patty is not it's not savory, it's not delicious, it's not like, oh, that's a burger kind of thing, right? The bun, when the whole thing comes assembled, the bun is like, I don't know, like soft and mushy. I don't know if that even makes sense. When you take bread and you microwave it, and then it just becomes kind of like limp, and it's not fluffy, like, anyways. So, and their fries, they're trying to be fancy with their fries. They've got these discs of potatoes, and it doesn't even taste like fries. It just tastes like the texture of stale potato discs. It's not delicious, Anyways. So, third go around, and I'm trying something my son's been having, and it's they're called duos. They're basically sliders, but they're slightly bigger than sliders. And I went for the gluten-free bun, went for one crispy chicken, and I went for one Angus. No sauce, just veggies, pickles, and we'll see how that goes. And bacon on one of them, and we'll see how that goes. And let's see if I can get knocked off sort of the end of the fence that's leaning towards, like, this place isn't great. This is like, no. But we'll see. But that's my assessment. And that's about food. Hey, everybody. So, before I wrap this one up, before I put a button on this episode, wanted to say it's going to be ending on the morning of what's known as, new to me, but it's known one way or another as World Kindness Day. Did I say that right? World Kindness Day? Which is great. I think we should have World Kindness period. Not just a day. Maybe we should have it like every other day. Because I need a moment in between kind days to take care of business on folks who aren't kind themselves. I've tuned into several services that sort of give me a heads up on things like what's going on in the neighborhood. Those neighborhood community type social sites. Who's selling what? Who needs some tips on? For example, somebody posted that they needed ideas on
on how to resolve why their dishwasher is not cleaning their dishes thoroughly. So, people in the community chime in, they have their ideas, things like run some sort of cleaner through your machine, or make sure to rinse off any food particles off of your thing before you load the dishwasher, or maybe your dishwasher is just coming to its end and you need to replace it. Things like that. Or these services, these sites, these community sites share things like someone just broke into my hatchback, or someone broke into my son's hatchback and stole the subwoofer, So that stuff's always interesting. That's the not so kind stuff that I sort of fantasize that, someone ought to lay a kind beating, if you will, on these douchebags who steal and damage other people's property. I like to say, in a nice community, in a nice town, in a nice sort of area. And it wasn't until I tuned into these services and, got surveillance sort of services, subscribed to those things to monitor and get updated on when shady things occur, and these things may have occurred for years. I just was not highlighting them, paying attention, working, staying busy, raising some young kids and stuff, sort of just paying attention to my tight vicinity, until something happens, like, someone doesn't break in, but, unauthorized entry into a personal vehicle and taking stuff until that stuff happens, So, yeah, World Kindness Day, despite all the douchebaggery that's happening, need to be kind, Yet, I still fantasize what would happen if I were to stumble upon someone, trying to break in and again into personal property. What kind of action would I take, or inaction would I decide on? But, it is nice to fantasize after seeing and reading so many accounts of people being done wrong, and seeing enough video and footage of people not caring less about being caught on camera as they make their way onto somebody else's porch and takes away their packages, or walking up to somebody's driveway in the middle of the night and just making it their business to enter someone else's unlocked vehicle and rummage through their stuff and take stuff. No regard to personal property, and they're brazen, man. They're taking that chance. They don't care, One thing I read had to do with somebody's mailbox had, someone had stolen mail from the mailbox, and it happened to be, checks, like check refills, blank checks. When you're still in the mode of writing personal checks out to businesses and people to make payment, and you run out, you order these things from the bank, and the bank mails them to you. All right. So things like that, right? Someone had got their checkbook stolen, their blank check stolen, and this somebody used the check to make a payment to somebody else for rent, which is not likely, for a certain amount,
And that amount had to do something like 930-ish, 900, somewhere below 950. And the suspicion is the reason why the theft was for specifically below a certain amount was because as a crime, it won't be a felony if it's below a certain amount, right? So the criminals are being mindful of the penalties, and they're still taking the chances. So yeah, douchebaggery, So that's that, and I'm gonna end it with douchebaggery, but yet world kindness. Be kind to one another. Peace. I'm out. Hug your friends, hug your family, and go run something. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Ruel's Running Podcast with Ruel. If you like what you just heard, share it with your friends and your enemies. Also, be sure to check out the site over at ruelsrunning.com. This has been another Coffee with Heavy Cream production. Join us next time for another silly show of Ruel's Running Podcast.